Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, when you log in, you'll see this menu over here, yeah? That's what takes you to your Google Apps, and if you click on it, it will open up those apps. So one of the many things that you need to look out for usually is your Drive. So I'll click on Drive. So that's my Drive, okay? With Drive, it's like my computer. It's where I put everything. Google gives us 15 free GB, right? Free. After some time, it runs out. And then we all start sweating, right? Hey. And now with our phone, some of us back up our things there. The 15 GB just seems like a drop in the ocean. And yet it's a big thing, yeah? So I got tired of negotiating with Google and I subscribed because I was really tired of reading that red alert all the time, you know? So I accepted. I thanked Google for the 15 GB all these years and I subscribed, okay? So I have lots of room to work with, as you can see. My storage is a whole 200 GB. And because of that, I work a lot on Google. So I don't move with my laptop. Many times you'll find me with my tab. Yeah. All I need is an internet connection. And then I have access to my work. I also, and this is for you as managers in managerial positions. I also bought something extra for my tab, a keyboard, yeah? So that it can actually kind of mimic a laptop. And it makes working on this tab a little easier, right? So that's how I operate with Google. Okay, so you can set up all kinds of things. You can see I have all those folders. So if you're in that place, you can, to create a new folder, and sorry, I need to go through this a little quickly, but I hope you'll follow, yeah? Take notes and ask questions. Stop me when you must. So usually in the Google ecology, the plus sign means new, yeah? For my visual communication students, we know that that is a sign. So a sign means something. So plus usually means new or you're starting something. So if you want to do anything new, you therefore use your new tab here. So you click on it and you can do a number of things, including uploading a file or a folder, including opening a Google document or Google Sheets, and so on, okay? Yeah, so that's how you create new things. That's how you start new things. So if you're going to do a file upload, you click on upload like that. It will take you to your computer, and then you choose the file that you want to upload. You'll select it, click on open, and it will upload. Do you follow? Okay. You can also upload an entire folder so that you're not uploading one file at a time. Depending on your internet speed, it might take longer for a folder to upload, but it will upload all the same. And then Google Docs, I think most of us are what we use mostly with Google. So you can start a new Google document by clicking here. Okay. And then it will open. So if you've used Microsoft Office, this is a bit familiar, right? So you're not starting from scratch. There are a few differences, but it's basically the same. So you have some AI at work already. Can you see? Meeting notes, email draft. What is it that you want to do? You choose and they'll do it for you. So for example, if you click on meeting notes, it will ask you in your calendar who you want to invite and so on, and you'll go on and develop that. Okay, so assuming I want to work on my document from scratch, I'm building something. So I just click anywhere in the document and I'll start typing, okay? When you type, you can format the document using these tools up there. For example, you can change your font size, your font type to something else. You can change the size, you know, and so on. One of my favorite tools in word processing is this tool here, the format painter. That format painter there, it's one of my favorite tools. Why? Because it copies formats. So for example, if you have red text somewhere and you want to make some other text in the document red without you having to select and then go and change, you can just use the format painter, select the text, choose the format painter, and then paint over the text you want to format, and it will assume those characteristics of the text that you're working with. Okay, so that's the document. It keeps, it saves automatically on the cloud. Yeah, that introduces a new idea, cloud computing. You've heard that before. Yeah, many of us are now in the cloud somewhere. So it saves on the cloud. And that's how we end up using a lot of our space on Google, because we save everything in the cloud. So when you save on the cloud, it keeps saving automatically. Sorry, I'm not sharing this. It keeps saving automatically for as long as you have an internet connection. The other thing that I want us to quickly look at is how to share a document. Has anybody done that before? Yes? Okay, so do you want to come and demonstrate? Within just a minute. Yes. I'll take you on another. You can use, yes.
Okay. I needed to figure out this computer. Well, the symbol is there where there is share, so you can click on sharing. You could use a link, so there's an option there. You can copy the link and share it with people, maybe on WhatsApp, by SMS, or whichever way that you communicate. But also, she's made the document private. We saw the option when she was working with it, so she can't share using an email, but there's an option where when you click, oh, okay, they are asking for this to name it before sharing. Should we? Yes. So now that the document has a name, they give her an opportunity to look for people that she would like to share this with. And there is the general access and how people can be restricted. So you can type people here by emails. If these are your workmates or people you want to send, you just type in their emails. Okay, some are there. And so many. These are her people. So you could choose any of this. It could be a group. You could have people already in a group. So you just select the group. And then we'll use this one. Okay, you can tell them what you're saying. And then you can also choose how they're accessing the document. Usually this is where the problem is. Either view only, because when you give them the edit rights, people get in and add so many things, you find the document upside down. So depending on how you want people to cooperate, you choose what you tell them. There's the comments, commenters, editors, and viewers only, I think, yes. So you choose which one you want, and then you proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Josh. So I hope that is clear. editor has all the powers. Yeah, so you do that if you trust, or you, I don't know. Commenter will comment and you'll see the comments, and then you'll decide which ones to work with. The viewer will do exactly that. So once you're done with that, then you can share, and don't forget to notify the people, and they'll be notified by email. Okay, so we'll get out of there. The other thing that I want to encourage you to do as people working within the digital space and with computers is to learn a few keyboard shortcuts. Yeah, I found that in my career, I've saved a lot of time using keyboard shortcuts as opposed to turning to my mouse. Yeah, those 2 seconds that you use to move your hand from your keyboard to the mouse, you could do something here that would save you time. One of the keys on the keyboard that I find very helpful all the time is the escape key. Yeah, you want to get out of somewhere, escape. You'll clear your screen and you'll go back to where you were. You know, and there are so many other keys, and there are so many other shortcuts. The basic ones being Ctrl+C for copy, Ctrl+V, paste. Those are very basic. Ctrl+B for bold. And now Google updated its shortcuts as well. So the ones that we are used to, the Microsoft ones, are now the same with Google. So Ctrl+B will make your text bold even within a Google document. Okay, so we've looked at sharing. Now, if you're working on an academic document, which I know some of you will do or are already doing, you know that citation is very, very important. Yeah? And so you'll be asked to cite using a certain reference system. Most universities will ask you to use the APA. Yeah? In the arts or the humanities where I come from, we like the MLA. Okay? But APA, for those of you working within the sciences and the social sciences. So Google has incorporated a citation tool in documents, okay? And it kind of makes your citation a little easier, especially when it comes to drawing up your reference list. So under tools, can you see that? Yeah, you have citations, okay? So you click on them, it will take you to this field, and then you'll choose which one you want to use. They're not as many as Microsoft will provide and other citation software, but at least these are the common ones, okay? So if you're using APA, then you'll choose APA 7th edition. It's the latest. There are others, 6th and so on. And so you then start adding your citation, okay? If it's a book, then that's the source. Otherwise, there are other sources. It could be a website, a journal article, a newspaper article, a film, and so on. So if it's a journal article, which it most likely will be, then you select that. And then you choose how you accessed it, let's say by website, which most of us do. And then you can start adding the contributors. So you add the author. It will give you a name. So you add the author. So you put their first name, their middle name, and their last name, okay? If there are 2 authors, you can add another field for add contributor here. You remember the plus sign? It shows up here again, okay? So you add another contributor and you put their details. So at the end of the day, you'll have a document whose reference list is drawn up for you. Obviously, as I've said before, the thing with computers is garbage in, garbage out. Yeah, basic principle. So you will still need to understand how to reference using any of these. even with an assistant like this, because computers are prone to mistakes, okay? So if you still don't know how to reference correctly using APA, for example, you can easily get it wrong, okay? So you still need to know the principles and then apply them on your computer. Okay, so you've realized now that we are getting into a little bit of AI, right? Good. So that's Google Documents for you. If you've used Microsoft Word, you can easily find your way around here. We won't look at the sheets, but if you've used Excel, same thing, you know, the principles apply. Slides is the equivalent of PowerPoint, you know. There are differences, some of them very fundamental, but the basics remain the same. Do we have any questions so far? Okay. Yes, Mendley. Yes. Oh, okay. I haven't integrated Mendley as well, but you...
So what I was asking was about Mendeley, which is one of the libraries we use to store like the references. And I've used Google Docs, but I haven't really used Mendeley to help to reference from Google Docs. So I don't know how that can be integrated. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. So Mendeley is, like she says, one of those, it's one of the software that we use for referencing. It makes work really, really easy, right? You can even download references from the internet and it will store them in your Mendeley library. Makes work very easy. The thing is, Google is one of those most selfish people, if I could call it that. You know, they want to be all self-contained. And as you can see, they now have their own tool. So there's no room for Mendeley, there's no room for RefWorks. Use our tool, okay? It's manual, all right, but yeah, it's a lot of work. But in the end, if you're consistent, I've used it to write chapters. And if you're consistent, it actually makes your work easier. As I said, I work a lot within the Google workspace. So I've had to find ways to make it meaningful. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
From my library into this, and I could not easily navigate how I could really get them in there. So I'm wondering, does this specifically have like any storage whatever space in there whereby I can save the references there, because I may use the reference as the first space, like the first paragraph, but then along the words I continue writing, I may have somewhere where it may be required to be referenced for some reason.
Unfortunately, once you leave the Google space and, for example, you download your document as a Word document, then that's it. So it will not carry the metadata, if I could call it that. It won't. So it will be a Word document and you won't be able to edit using your Mendeley or whatever. No. So to update it, you have to return to your original Google document and then, you know, edit. As I said, everyone wants to secure their spot in the field, yeah? Yes, please.
I was saying I've used Mendeley before. It's good for storage when it comes to everything. So just thinking, if Google Docs stores work, and in that when you get your referencing from the Mendeley, then you come to the contributor, you keep typing in and save.
That's it.
I think that can work as an option as well.
That's it.
Yeah.
That
you could do that.
So you can only, and then so yes, it is because you're building from yes. So you can't have it all. Yeah. Okay, so and there are many other things that that you can do with Google Docs and Google Slides and so on. So the other thing that I need you to pay attention to are the extensions. Yeah. You have add-ons, you have your app script, of course, if you're a developer, but then you have some extensions, like I have this one for GPT for Sheets, Docs, and Forms and Slides. Yeah. So it's an extension that I downloaded and installed within my Google document. So when you come to extensions, you find it, you can decide to launch, or as you can see, it tells you, it asks you whether you want to talk to a human. Is that what you want to do? Then, then you choose. So, but we'll launch it. And then it will open that window for you. And it will ask you what kind of, it's a writer, right? So it will give you options. What content do you want to develop? So if it's a full article, then you go for it. But there's so many different types of content. Improved writing, LinkedIn post, Facebook post, there's so much. So you simply choose whatever it is you want, and you can. Okay, then writing tone, professional, friendly, luxury, relaxed, so on. You choose whatever it is that works for you. Bold, if you're like me and you need to, tell somebody something, and yeah, you need to really garner all the strength, so you can ask this AI tool to give you a bold tone, okay? Yeah. And then this is where the prompting is. With AI, prompting is important. I hope you know that. So prompting is when you're communicating with the AI tool. Garbage in, garbage out, okay? So a good prompt will be very specific. It will tell AI what exactly it is that you want to do. So I want a Facebook post, okay? So what is your post about? So you can choose what it is. Okay. And then we ask AI. Okay, seems like I've run out of my credit. But yeah, so the response will come over here, and then you can copy and paste in your document, okay? You can also change the English to whichever works for you. And that's it. Google has been promoting their premium products lately. So you could, if you want, you can experiment. They are giving, I think, a 3-month discount, after which you pay. So you can experiment and just see what it looks like. Okay, and then over here, you have your other tools incorporated within Google. Your documents, you have your calendar that you can use. If you're writing, setting up something, you can incorporate your calendars there. You have maps. By now, you know that sign is maps, and so on. Okay, so that is your Google documents. Okay. As I said, apply the principles across the other applications as well. What's the time? Okay, I still have a few minutes. Let me see how I can best use those. Okay, so everywhere you are within Google, you'll find that menu over there. And so for anything that you need to do or any app you need to access, you click on it and you will find it. So for example, if you want to set up a Google meeting after you've logged in, you can just come over here and find Meet and set up. You can see that you also have YouTube, your Google Play, which is your store, your Translate, and so on. So the other thing that I want us to look at this morning is Google Translate. Anybody used it before? It's one of those original AI tools, very basic, but it gets better each time, okay? As its name suggests, it's a translation tool. So you can copy text and ask Google to help you translate it. Okay, so we'll keep our text in English. Okay, and we can choose which language to translate it to. So over here, you see, you have all these options, including Luganda. I think at one point there was Runyaktara. I don't know if it's still, some people argue it's not a language. Yeah, so you choose the language and it will translate it for you. Let's try this. So that would be that phrase in Arabic, okay? And then this icon over here usually means copy, right? By now, you should also know that. So sometimes these icons won't be labeled. They expect you to be used. So this usually means copy. So you can copy and paste wherever you want it to go. Likewise, if you receive text in French that you want translated to English, you could bring it here and paste it in and Google will help you translate it, okay? So that's how the translator works. There are other translator tools, but today we'll just focus on this one, okay? So I think that that's another important tool for you as managers because you work with global teams. And sometimes this information comes in their different languages. Unlike us, many countries value their local languages, and yet we have to be restricted to communicating in English. But that's okay. Okay, so we go back here. So whenever you save your contacts on your phone and you save them on Google, they come here to contacts. That's how they're backed up. That's why, and I encourage you to do that. Back up your contacts on Google. Okay. If you can't find what you're looking for among these, I use these a lot, so they show up on my screen. Forms, has anybody used Google Forms before? Yes? Who hasn't? Who hasn't used Google Forms before? Okay, let me just go there briefly, right? So Google Forms, we use Google Forms to carry out evaluations. We use them to, when I'm teaching, I can set up a quiz using Google Forms. You can also set up a questionnaire if you're doing research, okay? So they enable us to gather information online from a large group of people or from, within your team. So under your apps, you have the forms there over here. Okay. As you can see, I'm always developing things, so there's a lot on on my screen. But once again, we have the plus sign. Yeah, it keeps showing up. So you can start from scratch, or you can choose any of these templates. Again, we live in a template era. When I was younger, we did almost everything from scratch. But now templates, of course, they have their disadvantages, but well, makes life a little easier, isn't it? Yeah. So you can start from scratch, or you can use a template. So we'll do a course evaluation. It's loading. So you'll be able to set up your questions. And with a template, you know, we have that done for us. So you'll just customize to make it your own. So your class, the class name, the level of effort, blah, 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 blah. Now, you see that right now we are under where it says questions, yeah? We have 3 different tabs. You have the responses. That's where you view the responses when they come in. Once you've shared your form and people start filling it in, you come to responses to view the responses. So there they are. Right now, there's 0, obviously, right? Settings is where we change a few things. For example, I could choose to make this a quiz, but that means I would have to give marks to each question. How we manage responses, you can choose to collect email addresses. So whoever responds to your form must log in, okay? You'll have different reasons to want to do that, but that's okay. If you're doing research and you want to ensure confidentiality, you might not want to collect email addresses. So send responders a copy of their response. You could do that. You could allow them to edit their response once it's been submitted. Limit your response, and then how the form and responses are presented, and so on. Okay? So if we have our questions already set up like that, okay, since some of us haven't used this before, again, we see a plus sign down here. That plus sign is to add a question. So if you have a new question to add, you click on the plus sign and add the question. You choose how you want the question answered. A name is usually, you know, short answer, 1 or 2 words. If it's a longer explanation, you could make it a paragraph. Multiple choice checkboxes. So if you want people to be able to select more than one response, then you choose checkboxes. Okay, please remember that. Multiple choice will allow them to select the one. So as you develop the form, keep that in mind. For example, if you're asking people for their gender, you want them to select just the one. So you make it multiple choice. If you want them to say, to choose maybe their 3 favorite colors in a certain order, then you can allow them to use checkboxes, okay? Then that way, they'll be able to select more than one, and so on. So once you've done developing your, you can add all kinds of things, a video, an image. So once you're done, you then have to share the form, okay? Where's your share button? Okay, so you send, okay, use that, and you can choose how to send, to share your form via email. So you put the email addresses and then type the message, or you can just choose the link and share it. This link is very long. If you're going to share this on social media, you should consider shortening it, especially if you're using X. which has a limited number of characters. Okay, consider shortening the link. There are other link shortening applications that we can use, but fortunately this is embedded within the form. So you shorten the link and then you can copy it and share it. You can see that you already have your options here to share on social media. If you're going to add this to your website, for example, then you need what we call the embed code. So you come here, those two tags usually stand for embed code when it comes to HTML. So you pick your embed code here, that's the width, and then you paste it in your, let's say, WordPress post that you're working on, and then it will be embedded within the post. Okay? So again, depending on what you want to do, you choose copy and share on WhatsApp, via email, and so on. So once you're done, once you're done, responses will start coming in and we'll see them appear here. Okay? Yeah. So I'll ask you to experiment later on your own, just to see how it works and how to work with the responses, because Forms does almost everything for you. It will do basic computation. It will show you how many people have answered the question, how many people have said, have chosen a certain answer. So it will help to summarize. It will give you a few basic analytics from your data, okay? And it makes work a lot easier. So that is Forms. If there's a member in your ships who is familiar with it, you can ask them to show you. But this is just it's a snippet into what you can do because we have limited time, okay? So I hope that it will open up your mind and you'll want to know more. Let's look at email and then okay, so one of the things that Google has done now is to incorporate GPT for email, yeah? That's me discovering my things. So when you go to compose, okay, that window pops up, right? And I've already installed this here. So GPT for Gmail. Yeah, you can find it under the apps place that we looked at. So GPT for Gmail, when you click on it, yeah, so it will will ask you to prompt, yeah? So what do you want the email to be about? I'll take one of these. No, maybe not. Okay, so I'll generate. I hope I haven't used up all my prompts. And so it will do that for you. Okay? Okay. So to come up with a subject and the body of the email. Okay? So So you can then, yes, exactly. So it assumes, and so you edit it, customize it, and then submit it. Okay. So if you want to improve that draft, then you do that. Otherwise, I can click on insert, and it's inserted there. Okay. So my job, therefore, is to just, add those bits that are missing. Good. So I have 5 minutes left. I need to wind up, and I'll finish by talking about remaining secure in the digital workspace. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'll skip all that, but important to say that when you're remaining safe, you need to know, you need to be literate, because if you can't speak a language, then you'll be the person saying all the wrong words, right? Abusing people when you actually mean to say good morning. Yeah. So you need to be digital literate. And of course, as managers, you face different challenges, including malware being installed on your computers, bugging of your device, location data being used, your website being defaced, phishing, and so on. Disinformation, theft of your gadget. If your gadget is stolen and it's not protected, then your data is out there, isn't it? Yeah. So it's important that you secure it. And these are just a few tips. Keep a strong PIN or password. Our phones give us the patterns and so on. Choose which one you feel is more secure. Your biometrics might be more secure, although the babies are now very clever. Even when you're sleeping, they'll come and just put your thumb there while you're sleeping, and they'll be able to access your phone. Remember to log out, especially on public computers, right? Even at office, always remember to log out. In case there's an attack in the night while we are sleeping, you're much safer if you logged out that night, okay? Every time you don't log out, you leave doors open for the thief to come in. There's safety settings on your gadgets, you know them, your biometrics, all those things, use them as much as you can. When you're browsing, use secure browsing, browse incognito, or use a secure browser like Tor, and so on. Use a secure search engine. Google is a very, very good search engine, but it's not that secure. Coming from a journalism background, I know what it means to keep digital hygiene. Yeah. So use a secure search engine, and they're there, like Dark Google. Use two-factor authentication. Yeah. So that even when somebody gets access to your info, they still need some more authentication. Use that. When you belong to WhatsApp groups, please, please, please don't share your links anyhow. You've heard of how people are now getting onto WhatsApp groups and beginning to, to con others. Pay attention to software updates. They usually contain security improvements, okay? So every time your computer tells you there's an update, please look at it and update accordingly. Secure your electronic files. For example, share PDF files, yeah? And when you share PDF files, make sure that they are locked, they're secured. You can add a watermark, you can add a password, and so on. Back up your hard disk, your computer, yeah? Last year, I explained here that my computer is backed up on a hard disk, but it's also backed up on the cloud on Google. And I do that every so often, just in case I lose my computer, I have my information up to date to a fairly recent time. And as I end, for those of you, we all use WhatsApp, right? And you know that it's not that secure. It's secure, right? End-to-end encryption, so they say. But now I'm beginning to wonder with Meta AI, really, who is listening in? Who is listening in? Anyway, that said, there are other more secure instant messaging apps, and one of them is Signal. Again, I'm coming from a journalism background, and safety is very, very important to us. We teach this to our students and to journalists, okay? So if you're going to transfer sensitive information on an instant messaging app, then find one that is secure, and Signal is one of those, okay? Telegram used to be secure, not anymore. Yeah. Okay, so as I wind up, my computer frozen. I'll end with this, just in case you still aren't convinced that digital is important for you as a manager. I don't know if you saw this on X yesterday. Aristoc Booklex or bookstore is closing their Acacia Mall branch. Yeah? And people on X didn't have kind words. One of them is that. I still wonder how people of Chikubo could embrace online shopping and delivery, but Aristoc won't. If you send an inquiry to the Aristoc WhatsApp line, they'll respond in 2 days if you're lucky. Do you want to be that kind of manager? No. And to avoid being that kind of manager, have a team that is digitally literate. You know, skill yourself. Don't be afraid to learn. Learning never ends, even the Bible tells us. And with that, I'd like to come to the end. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause, members. Doctor, I'm going to request you to have a seat here in case someone has one or two only, because we've been asking questions as the session goes on. If at all also someone from online, from the online side has something to say, I will take only two. I will want to pose these questions to us members. How many of us read terms and conditions before agreeing? That's a disqualification. Let's be true to ourselves. You scroll. I have read and understood. Doctor, we never. Two, logging out. How many of us really log out from our computers? Especially if you own the laptop. Huh? Especially if it's personalized or like this is on your the space, workspace. No, I mean your Gmail. Doctor, these are confessions. Doctor, kindly have a seat here, then we can have two. Doctor, yes, please. Last time, Doctor, you talked about Google Docs. Like she said last year, there is something she taught us, but she has not really expounded. There's a beautiful thing about Google Documents that I didn't know. When you share a Google document with the emails and open it as editors, everyone who has gotten that link can edit in real time and the document remains the same. I don't know if I make sense. Like Dorini's contribution is seen on my end as if we are seated on the same computer. Like you don't have to send version 1, version 2, version 3. I don't remember as if you get that very well. We are having a document we are discussing, okay? So if the 30 or the 50 of us have to contribute, you just log into that link and then contribute. It will even show who has contributed what. So we don't need to send a document version 1, version 2. It was a game changer for us. And I am still struggling with my colleagues to change them to Google Docs from, you send it on Gmail, you send it directly. Why do you send those links of yours? it is still hard. And then, Doctor, one thing is you saw the other side of Google. What of those who don't have Google accounts? How does that work? Especially like I've failed to get people edit those documents in case they are using Yahoo or something. So you could maybe speak a little bit on that. Penny, do you have any online so that you can share?
The good doctor, everyone online is appreciating your wonderful presentation. You have done well.
Thank you very much.
There are not many questions apart from one that asks, can Google Docs be hacked? Otherwise, most of the comments online are appreciation messages for the wonderful work you have done, Doctor.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Yes, can Google Docs be hacked? As I said earlier, it's important to remain secure. Thank you. To remain safe. I don't know what you mean by being hacked, but your profile, your account can be hacked. And that includes your Google documents. Yeah. So if, for example, you set up the sharing to be such that everyone with a link can be an editor, then you're going to invite anyone in the world, regardless of where they are, to access that document. So whether you wanted them to or not, they'll access it. And if they want to use it for wrong things, they will, okay? So it comes down to you knowing exactly what settings to use. And you have to think about this very carefully as you set up the sharing. I hope that answers that question. So yes, it's just like the Zoom links. If you leave it open and you share it with everyone, then you're going to have hackers come into the room as you're meeting. Yeah, it's the same thing. So be careful, put in place safety measures, even as you collaborate on these documents. For people without Google accounts, I know somebody who doesn't have a Google account, and every time I share a document with them, they're able to work with the document. So I have one, I've never been on the other side, but I can do some more research on that and get back to you. But I know that somebody who's very important in my life doesn't have a Google account, and yet they're able to access the document. So it would be, you'd probably have to use the web interface of Google, okay? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Doctor. There's a small concern online, someone asking if AI is not killing our ability to innovate and to think on our own. If you could comment on that, and there's a question here in the house.
Thank you, Doctor. I've used other platform, and I noticed that I can, when I'm sharing a link with people, I can restrict it that after a certain period of time, that link should expire.
Yes.
Is that the same with Google Doc? Thank you.
With Google, what I have noticed is you'd have to go back in there and stop the sharing. Yeah. Even with your forms, you'd have to stop receiving responses. So you have to go back in there. You have to go back in there. Yes. So on the issue of AI, there's a hand up there, but let me take the question on AI killing our ability to create. It all started with templates, right? It all started with templates. When I was at university, we actually developed newspaper pages from scratch using not even InDesign, but Quark Express and PageMaker. Anybody used those before? Exactly, yeah? And they were nothing close to InDesign, nothing close to what we know under the Adobe, suites, yeah? We did everything from scratch. Well, it sharpens your mind. It's a good thing. I do a bit of coding, and even when I'm working on a website with WordPress, many times I find myself feeling more comfortable in the code area, you know, because I have more room to maneuver, okay? So yes, AI is good, okay? AI helps us. We should embrace it. However, as I said, garbage in, garbage out, okay? AI is good. For example, it will tickle your mind. Yeah, it will give you an idea. Please run with that idea. Develop it. It will send you in directions that you would never have imagined on your own, you know? But once it has sent you in that direction, can you please now own it? Yeah? Own it. Own it, and develop it. For example, in academia, people are using AI to provide structure, you know, very good. It will tell you this introduction, you know, this should be the first paragraph. And then you go in there and now add your own, let's hear your voice, okay? And no one will ever suspect you used AI because you owned it, okay? But if you're the lazy type who wants to, who wants to just copy and paste, then you and AI will be no different. And indeed, it will kill your creativity, okay? So I say that there are so many AI tools out there to do different things. Use them. You can even generate a voice. You can generate a video. You can generate pictures, okay? Using AI. Even Google's Gemini, which is their AI tool, can generate pictures for you. You can ask it to help you write an essay, and then you own it. Okay, go in there and develop it. So yes, it will kill your creativity if you want it to. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much, Doctor. There's another question at the back here.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So my question is not about the email. My question is about the Google Calendar.
Okay.
I try to use it sometimes, but I don't know whether it sends notification. Doctor, does it send notifications, or you just set your like something on calendar, but you just get reminded by yourself? Because I wanted to get a notification like when you set a ringtone or an alarm, you get a notification that you put the anything. But for the calendar, I don't know that. I don't know how to use it because I don't get the notification.
Okay. Yes, someone here is going to answer you.
Online audience to hear you as well. Okay, when you go, just to help you, when you go to the Google Calendar, just use it on your phone. You write, you click on the date. Then there is where you put an event. An event, you're going to specify what exactly you want that event to be, like you're trying to save. So when you save, it automatically go to your Gmail. In that, you get notifications every time that event happens. Like today, I save the calendar for this entire program. So every 18th today, I got a notification at 6:30. So it rank. So you have to make sure you do several notifications. Whether you get like a tone, it gets a notification on your email, and then it also gets a notification on your alarm or on your phone. Even if you're not on internet, it will come automatically. I'm going to help you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And also to add, you talked about the Google Forms. Those who are creating Google Forms, I always use Google Forms so much for research and then drafting questionnaires. This is where there is settings. Settings has an option of providing, let's say, the graphs in case you want to know how many people have answered the responses. And then you can also draw the pie chart. It helps you to, make your work easier rather than saying that Rita did this, Tama did this. It will give you a total of people that have answered these questions. And this is the total number of people who have answered vis-a-vis those that have not answered through graphs. Those who do M&E, and then also the pie chart. Am I correct?
Yes, you're right.
Nice, thank
Google helps you to visualize your data. Yes.
Thank you. The wonderful doctor, we have a small inquiry from our audience online. Someone asks whether there is an option of recalling an email that has already been sent.
Fortunately, there is, but it's for just, I think, 2 or 3 or 5 seconds at most. However, if you go into your settings, you can increase that time by a few more seconds, just a few more seconds under settings. So when you log into Gmail, go to settings, and then you'll find that there, okay? It won't be more than a minute, I'm sure. So that's why you need to be very sure when you're sending the email, but also don't leave Gmail immediately you click send, just in case you remember in that instant, then you can undo the send. So yes, there is, but there's not much room to wiggle.
Okay, it is wonderful to know that there's a way in which you can recall the bullet even after you have sent it out. Friends, shall we appreciate Dr. Sarah with a thunderous PML clap? Shall we give her a sharp PML clap? That is so much better. Thank you very much. Friends, we are still waiting for our next guest. But as we wait, I would like to remind us of a few things. Number one, could we think about clearing our fee for the resources that we are going to use for the next phase of our course? We all have payment codes. I'm sure that was cleared. Our ship's leaders have communicated to us what our payment codes are. Airtel is doing an amazing job. You can pay using Airtel money. We still have a few challenges with MTN mobile money. You used MTN and it worked? Oh, that is wonderful to hear. MTN is up and running. It is nice to hear. So we can pay using MTN mobile money. We can pay using Airtel money. It is a small fee of 100,000 shillings. It is for the resources that we are going to use. We are going to get books, we're going to get t-shirts to be able to do our school projects. Now, after we have finished the action tables that we are all engaging in now, how many of us are excited about the lessons we are learning every Wednesday? We are changing, right? Indeed, indeed. So after that, we are going to do a school project. That's why we need to have the resources that we are paying for to be able to embark on that. Friends, it cannot be emphasized strong enough that this is a wonderful opportunity for all of us to grow. And when we grow, it is important to help someone else grow. That's why we are going to do the school projects. And we will be multiplying our influence. Okay, so now, at the back there, where you see that beautiful girl called Carol, there's a table. It has tea. It is a wonderful day for tea, right? The weather is perfect for tea taking. So I'm going to invite all of us to approach the table at the back, serve a cup of tea, and enjoy it. While we enjoy our cup of tea, I would like you to meet someone new. Find out what their first job in life was. I sold pancakes. So at least you know what my first job was. Find out what that person's first job was. Find out what lessons they learned from that first job. Friends, you're welcome to tea at the back.
Oh, the online team, friends, the online team, we have tea. Please serve yourself a cup of tea. Send the bill to me. I shall clear it. Friends, Carol, could you put your hand up? Carol, could you wave at the people in the room? Carol is in charge of registration. She is ensuring that all of us here are registered. Our friends online, a form has been shared with you. Please fill it out so that we can register your presence in this session. Thank you. Friends, shall we take our seats? Good people, tea is wonderful when it's taken in our seats. I know we are excited to see one another. It's nice to catch up. We'll have a moment to do that at the end of the session. Friends, it is that time of the day when we take our seats. Our wonderful guest is here. Friends, for this session, we have a treat for our ears, our brains, and for our. Before us, we have our very own Shalon Mugabe. Shall we welcome her with a sharp PML clap? That's not sharp, friends. Let's start now. Good. Thank you very much. And we have Danielle Nyirandituye. I hope I got that right. Friends, Danielle is the mission director for the USAID here in Uganda. She provides the strategic leadership and operational oversight of a complex portfolio of $500 million in annual development assistance across many sectors, including health, education, humanitarian assistance, economic growth, private sector, environment, democracy, and governance. She's a career US diplomat, and she served in senior management positions in corporate headquarters in Washington, D.C. She served as the senior advisor to the agency counselor and as director for African Affairs at the National Security Council at the White House. Her overseas assignments include Ethiopia, the regional mission in Ghana, which covers 21 countries in West and Central Africa, and Madagascar. And prior to her US government service, she spent several years in West Africa as an international Mickey Leland Fellow with the Congressional Hunger Center. And she was working, prior to her US, she's a very important woman, so she's making me a little nervous. It is very difficult to stand next to power friends. Because usually I'm quite articulate, but now I'm finding my eyes a bit, yes, a bit blurry. So prior to her US government service, she spent several years in West Africa as an international Mickey Leland Fellow with the Congressional Hunger Center, where she conducted original research and implemented public health programs. She also worked for the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta on domestic programs and for the Carter Center working in Atlanta and Cameroon. She is a published author of peer-reviewed articles. She holds a Master of Public Health from Emory University. She also holds a Bachelor of Science in Pre-Medicine and a Bachelor of Arts in Chemistry and a minor in Human Rights from the University of Dayton. She is a proud Rotarian from the Rotary Club of Muyenga, and she is a mother of 2 wonderful children. Friends, I have stood in the presence of power before, but now I am very, very close to the source. Friends, welcome with me. I know you're taking your tea, but can we take a moment to welcome in the most warmest of PML ways our wonderful guest today, Danielle. Together. That is beautiful. Shalon, could you take over, please?
Thank you, Penny. Every time Penny is speaking, I equally get intimidated. I'm thinking, will I match this girl? She is such a wonderful moderator. And Penny, we appreciate you for that service that you give to the PML. Thank you very much. May your granaries be filled over and over again. I feel a bit limited to speak to you while sitting, so I'm going to stand for a few minutes and then I'll sit again. You know very well how glad I am to be here this morning. I always look forward to this. Sometimes I am online, sometimes I am physically here. And every time I'm physically here, I feel like, do you know a child in boarding school returning home on holidays? That's how I feel. So I'm always looking forward to who will be in the room. I am looking forward to the Wednesday sessions because while you're going on in your shifts, I am monitoring everywhere and looking for what is going on in the other, what is happening in the other. So I would like to see who is in the room. Danielle, we have been having PML since 2022, and you have come to meet every cohort since then. Today, we are very glad that you're meeting the cohort 2024. Now, this is a very special cohort. This cohort, we meet physically here on once a month at the center to connect, to get access to the resources at the center, but also we would like them to have opportunity to meet with the people whom we believe have had a successful career in public service. And so every month we are here for that. But every week on Wednesdays, we have these people meeting in small groups of 10 to 12. And those groups, we call them SHIPs. And SHIPs is scaling heights in public service. That is what SHIPs is. And thankfully, it really rhymes well with when you're steering a ship. You give it direction. So these guys are steering the public service wherever they are, and they meet on Wednesdays. In those ships, they are facilitated by alumni of PML, those that have come from 2022, 2023, and they are the ones who facilitate those ships. Now, this cohort, once they have gone through the program, they've got our DNA, they've got our values, we will also onboard them as facilitators. We call those Franklin ambassadors. Remember, we launched Franklin at the end of last year. So those, our alumni now enroll as Franklin ambassadors. I would like to request my Franklin ambassadors to please stand. Thank you, my friends. You must remember Danielle from last year. We cannot have all of them here because then the participants wouldn't have room for them to be here physically. Now, these Franklin ambassadors in the cohort of 2024 are facilitating 25 ships, each having about 10 to 12 participants. That is how far the PML has gone. These very people, the Franklin ambassadors, are also facilitating mentorship programs in high schools. We are so far in 6 schools in the central region and also in the eastern region. About 3,000 students are in our iLead program in those schools. And the Franklin ambassadors are the ones that make sure that the program is going on there. Allow me now, Danielle,
the connection so it starts to, it's a Bluetooth
to
connection.
receive you, having given you that small brief about who is here. The people who are here are majorly participants of the PML 2024. We have our friends who are online on 2 channels, on Zoom friends on Zoom, I would like you to go to the chat room and indicate that you have heard me recognize you. I want you to know that you're very dear to me, and this is why. I am an online participant. It is only once in a while that I'm able to be here physically. I also would like to recognize our friends on YouTube. So when our Zoom channel fills up, Zoom room fills up, then we also use the YouTube. And friends, by the way, after the sessions, when we have edited the recording, we usually put it on our Franklin Institute channel. You can go there and access it. It would be good for you to follow the channel and accept the notifications so that when we upload the recording, you can access it there. As you know, we do not share presentations. We want you to be in the room, but we have provided a window for you that if there is something you would like to check on from what happened, go to our YouTube channel and you will find it there. Beautiful. Zoom, are you there? And can you hear me well? I want to believe that even the YouTube people can hear me well. If I get a signal that it is happening well, I'll proceed. Excellent. So friends, this is how it is going to go. We are going to be asking questions to Danielle just after she has given us a brief of who she is and what she would like to share with you from her experience working in very many offices to date when she is the director of the USAID mission here in Uganda. Online, please write your question. We will pick both on those of you that are on Zoom and those of you that are on YouTube. The team will be picking those questions and forwarding them to us. We also would like you to write your questions. We are skilling you to be wonderful question givers. We'd like you to give your question in only 30 seconds at most. And so we would like you to write it, draft it, and hand it to our good Penny and Jab, and so that we have it in advance. We will give you opportunity to ask your question, but for us to be able to make this, to give many of you opportunity to ask, would like you to write it so that we manage the time faster, just like the people online are doing. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you a dear friend, Danielle, who, like I've already said, has been here for all the 3 cohorts of the PML and will continue to be here as long as she is able to. Receive with me Danielle for her to share with us what she has today. Friends, please. Thank you.
Good morning. People, you just had coffee. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me this morning. I have to say, Shalon is a very convincing woman. You know, she has many talents, and that's one of her strongest one, if I must say. You know, when Shalon sends you a message, you can't say no. You tell me you're all here, so I'm assuming she's done the same to you. She's very convincing. So when she said, "What are you doing on May 18th?" That was probably like 6 weeks ago or a month ago. Yeah, a long time ago. Of course, I had no idea what I was doing. So I said, sure. I didn't know whether it was a Friday, a Saturday, nothing. She just said, hold your date this time for something. That was it. But I have to say, like I said, I can't say no to her because I think that in some ways I feel like I have grown with this program. and I have watched it from the very beginning. And I remember having just a few people in the room at the time, but I'm just so amazed, the things we've been able to do, you've been able to do in the last 3 years, to have so many people here in person, but also people online listening in. I think the impact that you're having on the ground is just tremendous. I am in awe of you, quite frankly. So I think we should really clap our hands for Shalom. Excellent. Yes, 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 it did. So she didn't give me really a topic to talk about. Like I said, she said, save the date, May 18th, 10:30 to sometime. That's all she said. So I don't know where to begin, but perhaps I'll just say two quotes that in some ways are very, I think about often. And in this morning when I woke up and I was thinking about what am I going to say to these talented public servants? As public servants, I think you will agree with me that sometimes it's really hard. People don't understand what we do and why in the world you want to be in the public sector. And I like to say to people that I actually am a proud public servant, because quite frankly, it's often easy for us to complain from the outside without really understanding how things work on the inside. So I want to really encourage and applaud you for having taken that step to really support the public sector, because it needs people like you, and the leadership and training that you're gaining from participating in this program is only going to make you better, make you be able to provide the services to your country, to your people. So kudos to you, truly. So two things, two quotes that I'm just going to throw out there, hopefully to help us guide our conversation this morning. There's a woman I like to listen to, and every time she talks, she never fails to say this. We were meant to do hard things. And every time I hear this quote, it becomes truer and truer. Because honestly, even when you look at the start to life, it's always hard. Childbirth is hard, but we do it, and then we do it again and again and again. We survive. When we think that nothing can work, we always figure out a way to make it work. So when I hear, I have to remind myself sometimes when I find that I am being challenged and I feel that I don't have a place to go, I have to remind myself that I was meant to do hard things, and that even this challenge right now, I can overcome it. The second quote that I want to just throw out there for us to discuss is this, and it's something that I actually tell my kids. When history is being written about you, make sure that you have the pen. Right? When history is being written about you, make sure you are the person with the pen writing that history. So those two things I think about constantly. And so what does that actually mean? In my mind, for me, it means that we must be bold. We must be brave. And we must be ourselves. So boldness, braveness, is that a word? And being ourselves. But also to believe that we are as good as anyone else. I think oftentimes we doubt ourselves. Can I do this? I don't know. I don't think I can do it. If I do it, people will laugh at me. There's always those little things in our heads, right? Saying to us that we can't do it. But we must believe that we can do things. Again, we were meant to do hard things, and we're here on this earth for a reason. So if we're here, we must take advantage of our time on earth. I also think that it means not allowing others to define who we are or to define who we become. Again, I go back to the quote I mentioned. When history is being written about you, will you have the pen? Will you be the person writing that history? You won't be able to write that history if you've allowed everybody else to determine who you become. You won't be able to write your history if you're doubting yourself. I can't do this. Oh my gosh, no. Why me? People will do this. They won't think I'm good enough. No. And so the bottom line here is we have, in order for us to be brave, to be bold, to be ourselves, it also requires us, I think, to spend time discovering who we are, trying out different things. And I think for me, that's what my career has been. I've tried out different things. I haven't allowed myself to be limited. I've also, I'm a strong believer that oftentimes, and I've heard it, you know, I think they said earlier, I am a Rotarian, and I've spoken at a number of Rotarata clubs. And one of the things I hear often is, how can I do this? I have to know the right person. I think sometimes the right people can be in front of us, but we're looking past them because somehow in our minds, we think the person to help us must look a certain way. But the person next to you could be the answer to your, to your problem. But no, but I have to find the person who is on that stage there. That's the one I need. No, you don't. And I think opportunities come in different shapes and sizes. And so we have to be open-minded to taking those opportunities. It can be a small opportunity, but it's an opportunity nonetheless. I think sometimes for me, I have to remind myself that yes, we all aim for big things, but to get there, we have to take incremental steps to move. Otherwise, if you move too fast, guess what? Sometimes we crash and burn. But if you move incrementally, you actually get where you were always meant to get to anyways. So I would say that we have to be intentional in how we seek and approach opportunities. Let us not literally walk past or drive by opportunities because we think they're too small or that they're not good enough for us. So for me, it has meant that I have really sought out opportunities, but also really try to listen and engage and participate in programs like these are actually a great opportunity because when you're networking and you're meeting colleagues from different parts of the public sector, you realize very quickly, not only do you share some basics, but that individual next to you could also be the person who opens the next door that you want to walk through. So you have to really be prepared mentally, emotionally, to walk through those doors when they open. They're all over, they're all over. They're in this room. And allow us to do that, challenge ourselves to do that. My career has been just that. I have been lucky enough to meet different people in different settings who have really helped me go out, find who I am and what I was meant to do in my career. I think when I was starting out, I thought I wanted to, I think you can all relate to this. Our parents always have dreams about who they want their children to be. And I think in the African context, you must be a lawyer. If you're not going to be a lawyer, I need you to be a doctor. If you're not going to be a doctor, you must be an engineer. And then last but certainly not least, you must be able to count money, finance. Everything else doesn't count. And so I think oftentimes we are groomed in those 4 categories and we try to squeeze ourselves in those things. So for me, I try to squeeze myself. I thought I must be a doctor. I will become a doctor. Surely I do love science. So I did my pre-medicine degree. I did chemistry. I loved it. I love sciences actually. But also I think I liked the social sciences, political science, just having intellectual conversations. So when I was at uni, I think the third year in uni, when you need to figure out, okay, so what am I going to do next? I had been working for this professor. I worked in his lab all year and all summer. And I just looked around and said, I actually do, as much as I love science, I don't like to be in the lab all day by myself. I love people. Me being with animals all day, it's not my thing, really. You know, you're sitting there, you're waiting for the pipette. You're doing this pipette, you're just waiting and just counting. I'm just there by myself. I said, no, 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 no. But I didn't know what else I needed to do. And I actually ran into someone by chance. And the individual said to me, have you ever thought about public health? And I said, what is that? I had no idea what it was. He said, it might be the thing that you might be looking for because it will allow you to see people, but also still do something in the health sector. So I did a lot of research, and I can tell you that I very quickly pivoted. I had taken all my exams. I was ready to go to medical school, but this thing came, and I went back home. I remember I had the conversation with my father, and I said, listen, I'm going to try this thing out. I'm going to do 2 years, and then I will go to medical school. Worry not. So I went and did public health, and I found myself really enjoying it. In fact, actually, one of my mentors when I was in public health is a Ugandan renowned public health specialist at the time. So he said, oh, would you like to do some research? Help me, I'm doing this research on this particular disease. I have an opportunity for you. Would you like to go to Cameroon? I went to Cameroon. I loved it. I loved everything I was doing. And I think at that particular moment, I think I realized the school called me. They said, are you still coming? Are you still coming for the start of the school year to go to medical school? I had to make a choice right then and there. It's not an easy choice. It was either do I pursue what I think is my calling, or do I go and try to fit myself in this thing that I'm not sure. I wasn't quite sure that I was seeking a medical degree for the right reasons. So, I mean, they gave me a deadline. So, they're like, okay, well, you have a month. Think on it and come back to us. And so I had to, I talked to people I was working with, and then eventually I decided, let me just try this public health thing. I don't know where it's going to take me. I really had no idea. But I suppose that's the beauty of also being young and naive, right? I think when we're young, it's an opportunity for us to try different things, right? We take many risks. And it's important to do that, actually. I think that I learned a lot throughout that process. And when I decided to do public health, I haven't looked back since. I have actually loved everything that I've done. I don't say that the road has always been rosy, absolutely not. But what it has meant for me is, committing myself to something that I thought I was passionate about. That meant I needed to also do work. I needed to do work to seek out opportunities, also show what I could, what I brought to the table. Because people won't keep giving you opportunities if you're not also showing what you bring, what you offer. What is your value add? When you look, what is your value add? Because if you cannot articulate what your value add is, people will be quick to actually push you to the side and kind of move on. So I feel that, in addition to learning, but, to learning the public health craft, I've also been able to show and to do work that's meaningful and to contribute and to also help seek impact. And I am so lucky to have been able to have that. I think the third thing I would say, and then I will stop boring you, I think. At one point as well, you probably are like, so how did you go from doing this research all over, West Africa to joining the US government? That was another pivotal moment actually in my career. So after I finished my work in Cameroon, I went on to become a fellow One of the things I really do enjoy is to really think through issues, and I love policy work. I think it's it's as important as the work that we do on the ground, because if it's not written, it doesn't happen. People forget about it. And so I sought out opportunities to do policy work, and I did when I was in West Africa. But I also was working for a man who said to me, another lesson I learned very early on, he said, Danielle, you should never allow yourself to stagnate. Never. Because the moment you stagnate, then you've lost yourself. You're done. Oftentimes I think we get too comfortable. We prefer comfort because it's good. It's like, no, I don't want anything to change, because if it changes, maybe. We get in our heads. But he said to me, no, don't do that to yourself, because the moment you stagnate, or the moment you begin to feel that you're stagnating, it's time for you to move on. You need to go do something else. You need to challenge yourself. And that's how I actually joined USAID, because I was like, oh, of course I keep doing research. I love this and blah, I went on and on and on. It's like, yes, you do. But the thing is, as I was saying earlier, public servants, we never get the credit that we deserve, because people are always like, oh, these people, the bureaucracy, they don't do things on time, they're too slow, the blah, I mean, on and on and on, right? Because on the outside, we don't know. We don't really understand the systems. And so the person said to me, you can continue doing all these things that you love, absolutely. Or you can challenge yourself and join the US government and have a different kind of impact. Not only will you be on the inside, you'll be able to bring all this experience in the inside to hopefully inform whatever policy that comes back to us. And I thought about it for a few weeks and I said, maybe he's right. But I wasn't quite convinced. So I talked to so many people, anyone I could find, I talked to them. What do you think? I love science, I love research. And he's telling me that I should go do this other thing. I don't know whether I can do it. I really debated and debated. Finally, I took the plunge. Again, I had no expectations, zero. And I joined, and I've been on this ride for 15 plus years. I've been able to do things I never thought I could do. I've really been able to see impact on the ground. I've been able to work with communities, to interact with people like you. Like I would never have gotten that chance to be in Uganda, to be all the different places that I've been. And I'm grateful for that. Along the way, another person came and said, well, that's great. Oh, you're all over Africa. You're doing wonderful things. So what is the so what of your work? Right? He said to me, how else can you be value add? Because you've collected all this, you've collected so much in your career. You're doing a lot. What is the so what of your work? And he said to me, you should always, and that's something also I keep in mind. I think it also keeps me grounded. You should never become your job. When you become your job, you've lost yourself completely. If I go to walk around and say, I'm mission director is what I do. But I am a person. My name is Danielle. I am a mom. I do many other things. Because the moment you become the job, you lose yourself completely. And I think for me, it was a wake-up call, because I was beginning to become my job. So he challenged me, said, no. You need to think about the impact you're making at a global level. You need to go back to Washington. I resisted for a moment. I resisted. Oh, how dare he tell me this? I know what I'm doing. I went back, and he was right, because I was able to go back to headquarters and share a lot of this experience, and actually see that what I was sharing was actually helping as the US government develop policies that make sense, that are informed with the realities on the ground. That is impact that is unimaginable. I had not realized it. And today I pay forward. I tell my staff here, I say, you know, it's great. You can be overseas for so many years. It's wonderful. But if you're not sharing this with policymakers in Washington who are actually writing these things, then it means nothing. It means nothing. You have got to make sure that what you're experiencing is part and parcel of how we are evolving as a U.S. government, how we're evolving in the way we administer development assistance, how our relationship with different countries must evolve. If that is not, if your experience is not part of that conversation, then it's not really, you're not having an impact. You've essentially decided, I'm gonna become my job. I'm just gonna keep circling around. Yes, you're having some impact, but it's not translating at the global level in a way that it needs to be. So that's how kind of I've arrived here. So the moral of this long-winded story is very important to know ourselves. We have to know ourselves enough for us to grow ourselves. If we don't know who you are, then you can't grow. We must really understand what are our values. What are those values that you hold dear? Because if you don't know what those values are, it's really easy for somebody to influence you, to determine what you become. Because they'll push you in this direction and then you go that direction. And then tomorrow they push you in this direction and then you go in this direction. And at the end of the day, you find yourself not really knowing who you are, whether you're coming or going. So really, really important early on in our careers to really take a step back and think about what are those things and non-negotiables to you all in your own individual careers or even in your personal lives. What are those things you're now going to give up because they're very near and dear to your heart? I've had the privilege, obviously, of many years to develop what those things are for me. But I'm sure you all have yours as well. So don't take those things for granted because they really go a long way, I think, as our careers evolve. But also, I think once you know yourself, you've given yourself a chance to try out different things, you develop your values. Those values are what actually makes up your brand, right? You got to have a brand. We all have to have a brand. What are you all about? Right? I know that Sharon, when she called, I know what her brand is. She's passionate about public management, leadership in the public sector. That's her brand. It's very clear. She's made it very clear and she's acted on that. So what is your brand? When you're working, what are you all about? Again, remember the quote I mentioned at the beginning, when history is being written about you and you have the pen, what are you writing? What are you saying? How did you contribute to whatever, the sector you work in, or to your community, or to your country? What have you done? What is your brand? How do you want to be remembered? I think it's very important. I think the last thing maybe I will say is that as leaders, as we continue to grow in our own leadership roles, it's important to get to know people around us. People who work for us, with us, and around us in our communities, and wherever we go. They are very important. We must be willing to learn. We must be willing to listen. We must be willing to cultivate those relationships because they do come in handy. It's a way for us to recognize and to be humble in our approach. It's not just because you're in a position of leadership, it does not always mean that you know everything all the time. And if somebody tells you that, you should literally keep walking because that person does not know who they are. If they claim to know everything all the time, then they've lost perspective on who they are. So I think really being humble enough to leave that room for us to continue growing, because as individuals, we are continuously learning new things. We're continuously growing. So to tell ourselves that now we know everything, we reach a cap, I can't take on anything, is not okay. Because then you're on your way to stagnation. And stagnation is not acceptable. I think we are in a world that is constantly evolving. There's just so much that's happening. For us to say, I have reached my cap, is really unacceptable. Because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, who remembers the day when we didn't have phone, like these cell phones? That was like, I don't know, like 15 years ago. But now here we are, we're all on our phones doing different things. Tomorrow there is AI. AI is emerging as a new technology. If you've already said to yourself, I don't want to grow, I know everything already that I need to know, then you're going to miss what's happening now, but also what's on the horizon. So we have to keep room for growth. And in order for us to do that, we must remain humble. We must know that we don't know everything. And the people around us, those who work for us or with us, or those in our personal lives, those are people who enrich us with new ideas, because we must continuously innovate. We must continuously grow, and we can't grow if we don't talk to people and if we don't listen, intentionally listen. So for me, it's that's why I love doing things like this, because every time I come here, I learn something. Every time I go out to visit different parts of Uganda, I learn something, because I meet people who are seeing the world in a different way, who challenge my assumptions. And it's good. It's not a bad thing to be challenged. It's actually good, because it keeps you on your toes, it keeps you grounded. So I really encourage you to continue doing that. Sharon, I think I've talked too much, so I'm just going to stop here.
Thank you very much. Did you see me writing? I was writing things that I must go and meditate upon. Thank you, Danielle. That is very, very insightful. And we have a lot of questions coming from our friends online. I also would like to know if our questions here are ready, because for the sacrifice you make on Saturday morning, I'd like to give you great opportunity to engage with Danielle. But Danielle, one of the questions that came in, talking about being born to do hard things, one of our friends is asking, Tendo Mokisa is asking, but how do you tell that the hard thing you are doing is not working and you need to switch? Would you like to get some more questions so that you answer them at a go? Okay, so we have that. The other question that we have is, have you ever been to a point of compromise while carrying out your duties? And how did you navigate that? And then the next one, I'm going to ask 3, then you can answer those and get more, is how do you handle resistance and pushback from others when advocating for change? That came from Vincent Ayon. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Tendo. Thank you, Roslyn. Thank you, friends, for the question you're sending in. They make this very insightful and they add great value to what we are doing. So keep them coming. Danielle is going to answer those as we receive the others from our audience. Excellent. And they're asking we shouldn't switch them off.
Thank you, Sharon. I feel like you already were pre-planting these questions, huh? That was very quick, very swift, huh? Thank you for sweet talking me. Thank you. No, it's okay. Let me perhaps maybe start with the last one. How do you handle resistance when you're trying to effect change? It's not easy. But the last thing I said was it's important to build and cultivate relationships with people who work for you, with you, who are around you, because those are the people who are actually going to make a difference, help you make a difference. It's important to build coalitions. The thing is, it only takes you and another person or a few people in the room who share in your values and your idea to help move a mountain. But when you're all alone, it's hard. You have to make sure that you are inclusive. People have to feel that you have listened to them. People have to feel that you value their contributions, truly. And sometimes it's also even better if those ideas, the idea you're promoting is one that maybe someone along the way has promoted, but they never got anywhere. There is power in partnership. I strongly believe power in partnership. And even in my work today, oftentimes, I can give an example. When I arrived here I did over 2 years ago. And at that time, we were working remotely because of COVID. I think the whole country was on lockdown. Everyone was at home. And I was probably one of the few people. We have about 200 staff, and in the office, there will only be like 4 people in the office. I was one of those people. But I could see that obviously everyone was making an effort to keep the work going, but the lack of interaction, face-to-face interaction, had also really began to impact our ability to have results. And I just remember I was the lonely voice who was, I was like, we have to come back to the office. Perhaps not very quickly or all at once, but we have got to find ways we can interact. We have got to find ways we can change the tide. So that was something that I was doing. And I remember, that's why I say the part in partnership, making sure that you build coalitions and allies within your organization or your community who also see the same issue. And I was delighted that one of our operations manager had also been tracking some of these challenges that we're facing. And one of our new recruits I was delighted when I asked the person, how are you settling into your job? The person said, I don't know how I'm settling in because I have not met anyone. I was dropped here. I'm in my cubicle, but I have not met anyone on my team. I have read a lot of documents about how you guys work, but I don't know how to actually operate. I can't see it. And for me, that was touching because the person was very honest. And it was a wake-up call, not only for me, it was something that I knew, but I think for this individual's office and their supervisors. So it became a movement. It's something I had seen, but it became a movement because it was a wake-up for that office. Then it became, once that office began to raise that issue, then it became clear that everybody was seeing the same thing, but everyone had been quiet. They had not found the power to actually say, maybe we need to do something different. What does that thing look like? And this question actually ties into how do you compromise, right? For me, it would have been easy. My preference had been, let's all come back to the office. But I also knew that, it was for me to also understand that it was not that easy. Change doesn't, happen overnight. You have to take incremental steps towards a change that you want to see. And so once we had a grassroots movement, essentially the staff saying, we recognize that we could do much better if we're in the office, then the question became, it was no longer me now telling people to come back. The question became, how do we do it? And again, I would have preferred everyone to come back immediately, but it was the staff who said, maybe we can do a few times a week. So that became a thing. So then we was, okay, so let's determine, when do you come in? How do you come in? How do we organize ourselves? We started having those conversations. And then slowly people started coming in. You know, at first it was 2 days and then became 3 days. And then they realized, actually, why don't we do even 4 days? I said, that's great. Happy. I was happy. And then became 5 days. And then there was some flexibilities along the way. But I think it's really important, again, as leaders, not only to listen, but also to build coalitions around us, to allow some of the solutions to come from the grassroots versus as actually forcing the issue. Because when you force the issue, then no one is jumping on your train. They're not going to jump on the train, or if they do, people are very resentful. They become very resentful, and that's not what you want. You want people who are excited, who see the mission, who see the value. And I think it wasn't until people started coming in the office, all of a sudden, it became, I can get, yes, I could get a lot more done at home, but at least I don't have to sit through Zoom calls and meetings all day, basically, essentially staring in a screen. I can actually get up and talk to you, talk to Shalom, and very quickly resolve a problem. And I have to say, it's been a work in progress, but I think, at the end, we arrived in a place where I feel like everyone is content. Can we do better? Sure. I mean, there's always room for growth. There's always room for us to do things differently. But I think that's having allowed the space for people to develop or share in new ways that we could do things, to appreciate the issue and to come up with a solution that we could work with. I think for me, it's a win. That's why I always tell people, you shouldn't always focus on the thing you want. You should look at the incremental steps that take you to that thing. So we started with 1 day in the office. I said that's victory number one. The fact that now people see value in coming to the office, even if it's only 1 day, for me, that was enough. Because I knew if people start coming in the office, they will very quickly realize, actually, I could do much more. And then it became 2 days, and then it became 3 days. And now some people actually came and said, do I really only have to come in 3 days? Can I come in all 5 days? I said, oh my goodness, why would I ever say no to that? Yes. But it's every step for me is a victory. Like, as people realize and see the value, people will do. You don't always have to force the issue, but you also have to be open to compromise. Let's see. The third one was, when do you know when to stop? After you've tried and tried and tried. I don't know that I can tell you when to stop. I think you have to give yourself a chance to try. My motto is, I will try things at least once. If I fail, I know that I've tried. I will try once. If it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, I know I've tried, and I don't have to always go on wondering. I think as long as you know that you've tried, that's enough. If you've tried and that door refused to open, you've tried and tried, then maybe that's not the door for you. Maybe there is a window. I don't know. Maybe you need different skill sets to either climb the window or do something different. But if the door refuses to open, that door is not meant for you. We are meant for hard things, but if a door is closed, it is closed. Find a window, find another open space. Because that open space it's actually going to be there. Alone.
Picking more questions for you. Do we have questions here? Friends, when 30 seconds elapse, I will ask you to stop. Would you please hand your questions to Penny? And then if you know your question is coming, just put your hand up so that we receive it. For now, we have Bala, we have Lydia and Oscar. In 30 seconds, friends.
Actually, while I am listening, I find myself I'm listening to a philosopher rather than a mission director. So, if I have just quoted pastors, he said that leaders should challenge process because should challenge process carefully because system unconsciously maintain the status quo. And also, if I recall your word, you have to challenge the assumption. So I know growth sometimes it depends on your passion and your something in you, and also depends on the system. So how can I arrange between this, the methodology and my passion or my ability, my strengths? Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Daniel. My name is Lydia. As you're speaking, I got so much inspired and I felt like, wow, and you are a lady. So my question was that as a woman, as a female, how have you been able to navigate through this difficult task that you're doing above there? Sometimes, there's a way our gender is not sometimes, recognized so much, but you're up there and people are listening to you. So how have you been able to navigate through that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. My question is about emotional intelligence and its results or repercussions. I know for sure you have a lot of experience in handling expectations of yourself, but also people that you work with and people around you. How have you managed to be able to say yes and no boldly to people? Because people have a lot of expectations from you. Have you been able to do so in your work career? Thank you.
I don't know which one to start with. Now you have me all thinking hard. So I think the question around how do you charge a status quo within a system? I think we do have systems. That's why I was saying earlier, we get so comfortable in our systems that sometimes we can no longer see when something's not working. Somebody was asking, when do you know when you need to stop trying to push open a door that is literally closed? I think when we're in a system, it's important, absolutely, to look at the things that continue to work, but also to try and understand the environment that we're operating in and ask ourselves the question, are these systems aligned with the environment that we're, the environment that we're where we are now? Because if the answer is maybe not fully, then what do we need to do to realign those systems? It doesn't mean realigning a system means like you blow it all up and then you start from scratch. No, I think there was a reason that those systems were put in place. Now the question becomes, can we make small tweaks, small changes to the system? I'll give you an example. Here, for a long time, with USAID, our procurement systems can take a long time, right? We had come to accept that for us to go from soliciting some, a project, to awarding that project, it takes us 18 months to 24 months. And then during that time period, oftentimes, right, we will issue a solicitation, people look at it, they read it, and then they submit a 100-page document in response to what we have put out there, the tender that we have put out there. Along came our current administrator Power, said, can we do things differently? Right? We have this system, we have all gotten comfortable with it. Oh, well, it's gonna take us 18 months. So we got too comfortable. She came and she said, we need to be engaging with local actors. I mean, this has been a priority for the US government for a long time, but for her, she really put an emphasis and challenged the entire agency. And she said, we have got to do better because local actors, local partners who want to do business with the US government, they don't have the luxury of waiting 18 months, 24 months, where we actually don't talk to anyone. We literally take your response, we look at them, and then, you know, maybe in 18 months or 24 months, you may or may not hear from us, whether or not you're successful. I can tell you, initially, people said it can be done. In our mission here at the embassy, we challenged the team. What can we do differently? Within the system, we're not saying we're changing the procurement rules, right? The procurement rules are what they are. But can we do things slightly differently? We found a way. And that way is actually, for me, something that's very exciting. Because these days, when we issue a solicitation, we're no longer asking people to submit 100 pages of whatever. We're telling people, local actors and everybody, here is what we're looking for generally. Tell us your ideas in 3 to 5 pages. That's it. 3 to 5 pages. Tell us your ideas. And I can tell you, we've gotten so many more applications that are so exciting that have challenged the status quo of our programs, you know, our assumptions about programs and what needs to be done and how that needs to be done on the ground. So we get these 3 to 5 page documents and we read them because they're short. We can very quickly read them. And then when we read them, we can very quickly say, you know what, out of the 60 we received, we think 20 of them have ideas that really we're excited about, they're interested in, and we want to hear more. So instead of, again, people having to wait for an answer, we give an answer and then we tell people, please come to us, to the US Embassy. We want to hear from you directly. Let's talk. I think when we did that initially, people were shocked. I remember sitting in the room and seeing a number of local organizations because it was new. It had never been done. Even for us, we were literally adjusting our system as we were going. We didn't know where we were going to end up, but we did it anyways. So organizations came, we did the back and people presented, we asked questions very nicely, we had conversations. And then from those 20, we whittled down to maybe 5. And in those 5, then we said, come back. We want to create with you. So we're no longer going to write a whole document about all the things we want. Now let's write it together. Let's figure out if this is a problem that we have all identified and you gave us a taste of what the solution could be. Let's flesh it out a bit more. All throughout that phase, not only have we been able to really engage in a more intentional way, but also be able to garner and receive feedback in almost real time. But we've been able to cut down our procurement times from almost 2 years to now 3 to 4 months. And that means we're talking, and we're engaging people. But I can tell you again, where we were, and this happened last year, actually. In 2021, we're like, oh my God, no, can't happen. Now the standard is we can do it. We've done it. 3 to 4 months is what it's taking us. And we've gotten better partners as a result. We know who those partners are. They know who we are. We are truly partners because we are talking. Everybody's fully bought into the process. It's a win-win for everyone. So it doesn't mean we need to completely scratch the whole thing. We worked within the rules, but we made tweaks that have made things be better. And then the question about, oh gosh, I don't even know which one to take. Managing expectations, I guess I'll go with that one. I don't know where to start. I think as leaders, it's important that we set a vision for our teams, for the people we work with. You have to set that vision early on. You can't allow people to just be guessing what you want, where you want it, how you want it, and what the thing is. When you are given the opportunity to lead people, you really do need, yes, you do need those consultations, but you need to share your vision. And then you need to work with your teams to figure out how that vision is going to be operationalized. And I think that's the only way you can actually manage expectations. Because when you're not clear as a leader, you're not articulate on your vision or on your priorities, people are going to guess everything. They're going to make assumptions about you, about what you want, how you want it, where you want it, and so on and so forth. And then you're going to find yourself constantly frustrated because these people, they don't really don't know what you want. If people don't know what you want, then they're going to assume many things, and it's going to be incredibly difficult for you to manage those expectations. So for me, in the mission, I've set 3, I don't like 4 things. I like things very tight. And I like to prioritize. So we have what I call 3+1 priorities, because I don't like to say the word 4. So it has to be 3+1. And I made it very clear to the team what those 3+1 priorities are. We've also talked about how we are going to operationalize those 3+1 priorities. In the process also, we've had conversations about what it means in concrete terms. If we are going to be prioritizing this, what are we going to let go of? Right? Because we can't do it all. I say we can't do it all. You have to be very clear upfront and be upfront with people. Yes, we're excited, we're gonna do this and this and this, but here are the things we're not going to do. So when I'm telling you no, it's not that I don't appreciate your idea. It is a great idea for another day. I like to give a parallel. It's when you're going to the airport. How many of you go to the airport? You're allowed 46 kilos, 2 suitcases. But no, you want to squeeze in 1 more pair of shoes. You want to squeeze in all kinds of things. And then your luggage is too full. And then you get upset when the airport tells you, actually, no, you can't get on the plane. You need to offload. We also have to learn to be realistic. So I tell the team, we have to be able to be realistic in what we're seeking. When we try to do too many things, we do nothing at the same time. Therefore, you prioritize. We need to travel light. Light does not mean you don't need to fill your 46 kilos. You just can't go beyond 46, preferably 43 kilos, whatever. 46 pounds, is it? 23 kilos? If you're 23 kilos, you need to do only 20. Give yourself a little bit wiggle room, so you can feel comfortable. Because you never want to wear too tight of jeans and then you can't breathe. Because what's the point? So we need, when you're managing expectations, you have to be clear what you want people to do, how you want it to be done. But when you keep people guessing is where it becomes very difficult. So I don't know that I have perfected the art of managing expectations, but I would like to think that I have managed to keep people in line in the sense of, they understand this is the direction we're taking. This is a detour that is going to take us away from our direction. Maybe we table this for another time. It doesn't need to happen now. We can reconsider it in the future, but not now. And it's okay. And we don't need to be rude about it. You can be nice about it. I didn't answer one question.
Excellent. Would you like to answer it?
I need to answer it because Lydia here, I don't know. She's giving me very, 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 daggers, huh?
Dagger eyes.
Dagger eyes. So I feel like if I don't answer this question,
Please
I might get in trouble.
Please do.
And then I have to jump out of the window. No, Lydia, you had a great question about how do I navigate in a leadership role as a woman. I'm not going to lie to you. It's difficult. It is tough. I can tell you, sometimes I go to meetings and people literally walk past me and I'm like, okay, you do you. It's fine. I know you will come back. Exactly. Actually, I want to say, was it last year or it must have been last year, maybe earlier this year. I was sitting on a panel and this gentleman, I had come with my colleague, a male colleague, and this gentleman, I introduced myself. He didn't even pay me attention, not once. You know how somebody says hello, and I said, okay. So then he went on and on and on and talked to this guy. He was like, yeah, I spend a lot of time with the USA admission director, blah, blah, blah. They went on and on and on, kept talking. I'm standing there. I said, okay, you will come back. You do you will come back. Let me tell you, after he had talked for about 10 minutes, my colleague said, actually, the USA admission director is right here, next to me. Imagine the horror in the eyes of that man. That's why I say, you don't need to do anything. Sometimes people they'll walk past you, but they will come back. Because this man then came back and said, oh yes, let's meet. Here is my phone number. Can I get your card? Can you get my card? I was irrelevant for 10 minutes ago, I was irrelevant to you. But now all of a sudden I become relevant. So I think that for me, I go back to the point I made earlier. Knowing who you are, knowing your values, and standing in those values. I don't need to prove myself to anyone. I don't. If you don't feel that you don't want to hear from me, that's okay. I'm never going to force anyone to listen to me. It's okay. I believe that there are enough people in the world who share my values, who will see my value add, who will want to interact with me. But if you feel that you don't want to interact, it's okay too. So that's how I have handled it, honestly, because I've had, this example is not the only one. The multiple, it happens all the time. Oh, wait, what? But you're young. And is that a problem? And you're a woman. Is that also a problem? No, sometimes you have to throw the question right back at people. No, seriously. Is that a problem? I've actually asked somebody that question. I threw the question back at the person. My dear. They don't say anything. They're embarrassed. And they start saying, it's not what I meant. What did you mean then? They start eating their tongue. Oh, well, I don't know, actually. So sometimes you just have to throw right back at them. Or sometimes, another example I could give. Aren't you overwhelmed? So you are looking at me, you've decided I am overwhelmed? Overwhelmed with what? So I think being, standing in your values and being confident in who you are, honestly. So I say, I'm not overwhelmed. I'm enjoying my work. Thank you very much. And I keep walking. Because there will be people who are just, it's very, the way it's often done, it's very intentionally done, but also in a very, not overt, covert way. So people throw daggers at you, ask you little silly questions. So sometimes you just have to ignore completely, or just throw the question right back at them. But also know that, you know what, you can walk past me, but you will be back. So I shall wait for you.
Thank you, Danielle. I know that these people have many questions, but guess what? Our time is fast spent, and we are going to reluctantly release Danielle. with these last questions. One, what have been your key lessons in your career as a public servant and a leader? And secondly, is this question that keeps coming, and it's coming as well today. As a public servant, a leader, and a mother, how do you balance that equation? And then you'll give your parting shot, and we will release Danielle. After she's answered that, we will do our photograph. Jab Shots is here to help us in that before we can exit. But of course, Jab and Penny will give us direction. Danielle, please.
We were talking about this question right before we started, right? I know, right? How do you balance motherhood and work? It's not easy. It really is not easy. And I'm not going to sit here and say that, yes, yes. You know, I think the saying, we've all heard this, right? Women can have it all. Sure, you can have it all, just not on the same time or in the same way all the time. I think as women, it's important for us as we scale the ladder of leadership to set expectations of ourselves. I think as women, because we're challenged, we're constantly being challenged by the environments we work in. And as a result, we work hard. We're constantly trying to prove ourselves instead of actually saying, you know what, I know what I'm doing and I'm comfortable in what I'm doing. And I accept my flaws because no one is perfect, but I know what I'm doing. I think it's important for us to, as women, to create time for ourselves because we're constantly giving. From the moment you wake, actually, not what moment you wake up, while you are sleeping, I don't know about you all, while I'm sleeping, I am going over my to-do list. You know, I like to say that I have multiple jobs. Huh? You know, I like to say that I am a social secretary for my children. And then I have my husband. That's another job. I have to be a house manager. And then before 7 a.m. Huh? Then I have to go to work and spend the day all day there. So I like to say that I start working literally like what I'm sleeping. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I do my to-do list. Child 1 must go over here to do this thing. Child 2 is over here doing that thing. You know, then I have to do this. And anyways, mothers in the room, you can appreciate this. But I think for me, I've also realized that sometimes we're so eager, constantly giving of ourselves that we forget about ourselves and setting limitations. And we must set those limitations because when we don't, we burn ourselves out. And I can tell you that it did happen to me. I found myself actually working so hard all the time, that this past fall, last year around August, I had worked so hard that I broke my back. I found myself, I literally could not stand. I couldn't do anything. It was very painful. So I went to see the doctor, and the doctor said this to me. I think it was a wake-up call. The doctor said, Danielle, the reason you can't basically move is because you are sitting on your desk too long, that when your brain is sending a message to your muscles have forgotten what to do. I was completely horrified. Can you imagine? Your brain is telling your muscles, please move left. And the muscles are not moving. Yeah, no, seriously. He said, your body does not remember. Like some parts of your body are not remembering what to do, or the response is so delayed that you have these back issues. It was a wake-up call for me. I said, so I have given too much of myself to the point now I had to spend 6 weeks. Either I had to go to a doctor practically 3 times a week to get what do they call it? Taped up so I could actually stand. Imagine, that's crazy. I had overdid it myself. Like I had to go to a doctor to say, I remember going to him and I said, I need you to do whatever you need to do because I have to go with my team to, at that time, we're going to Queen Elizabeth for some work. And he looked at me, he said, do you see yourself? You can't even sit right now. I was hunched over like this in pain. Even if I tape you up, even if I give you all the drugs in the world, it does not change the fact that your brain sends messages to your back and your back doesn't know what to do. So I'm going to tell you right now, you are going to basically, you need to just not be moving. So I give this example because it's not unique. I've known other women in leadership positions who work very hard to the point of killing themselves. So I say, make sure to create boundaries. And so my boundaries now are, I have to take an hour for myself in the morning to do what I need to do, to get myself in the zone, whether it is to plan for my day or whatever it may be that I need to do. Time for myself to recharge, to do whatever. But I also, in the evening when I get home, I said to myself, you know what? Between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m., I am not looking at my emails. I am not answering whatever. I am not on social media trying to do God knows what. It's my time to myself and to my family. And that is a boundary I'm no longer willing to cross. We have to put the boundaries, because when we don't, we can do it all, but we have to have boundaries. Otherwise, we burn ourselves out and it's not productive. So that's one thing I've learned about balancing motherhood and work. It's not easy. And I think the last thing I'll say here too is it's important to explain to your children because they're watching you. You're setting the example. Working is not a bad thing. Establishing a work ethic that your kids can grow, see is also it's a good thing. But it's important to explain to them. If you're not going to be home, tell them why. Sometimes we think, or we as mothers, right? Oh my God, I can't, no. Your kids want to see you thrive. They want you to see you happy, but you need to tell them, mommy has to do this thing because X and Y and Z. When I finish, I'll come home. Actually, one of my friends who's a doctor said, sometimes we underestimate what our kids can process. We make assumptions that they're gonna hold it over us or whatever. And they said to me, at the time my kids were babies and I was traveling a lot, and my friend who's a doctor said, no, just talk to them. And I said, that's crazy. What am I saying to a baby who's like 6 months? He said, if you're going to travel, you go and you sit with your baby. As you're nursing the baby, you say, hello, let me tell you what, mommy's going to be traveling next week. I'm going to this place. I'm going to be doing this thing, but worry not, I'll be back. I thought it was wild, but I did it. And it really does work. And I do it all the time. I still do it, even though my kids are grown now. But it's a good thing. You have to do it. As you're setting the example, when they know what's happening, what to expect, they will allow you and provide you the space to do it. Instead of us feeling guilty, I'm leaving my child, they're not gonna they're not gonna be happy, they're gonna resent me. They're not gonna resent you. They know you have to work. So let's try to also make sure that we are communicating, we are giving our kids the benefit of the doubt, because it really does take a village, and your village is your family. Outside of work is your family. I just as a public servant, did I not answer that? I think I did. My parting shots. Sharon, what can I say? I feel like I've been mumbling on for a long time. I don't know. I think I'll go back to what I said earlier, honestly. I think that we were, I do believe in the fact that we were always meant to do hard things. So we should never doubt ourselves, not 1 second. We were always meant to do hard things. Life is not easy. That's why I say from the moment, for all the women who are here in this room, childbirth is not easy. We do it once and then we go back and we do it again and again, but we survive. It's just, life is tough, but we can actually overcome all the hurdles if we give ourselves a chance. I also say my parting shot will be, don't ever allow other people to determine who you become or who you are. Stand in your values, you will be fine. Stand in your values, believe in yourself, believe in what you bring, your value add, it will take you a long way. And always make sure that you're not only focused on the big wins, but that you also appreciate the small wins that take you to the big win. And if the door doesn't open, people, there is always a window. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Danielle. Let me see what my friends online are saying. Wow, I'll always talk to my children whenever I'm going to travel. Another one said, you are helping me to answer some questions that I have been struggling with. The other says, I'm inspired. I've been guilty of leaving my children behind. Now I feel relieved hearing from my mother. Thank you, dear friends. We have to bring it to a close. It's been a wonderful time, Danielle. I was torn between moderating the session and also, picking my own lessons from what you were saying. It's been very, very insightful. And thank you for sharing your heart with us. Danielle shared, not from that high level. She truly came to us. We feel like, I didn't say that, Danielle. Thank you very much. Before you came, Danielle, we were glad and very privileged to host Dr. Sarah Namsoga Kale, who took us through the skilling for digital communication. We believe that public managers have to be competent in their trade. They also need to have the soft skills to deliver those competencies. I'm now going to ask Dr. Sarah to come and take this seat where I am before I hand over back to the moderators. We are just really reaching the finish line. But I wanted us to recognize Dr. Sarah. So today we had two great public managers. And it is time for me to hand the microphone to the owners. Penny, please.
Thank you very much, Shalon. Friends, shall we appreciate Danielle in a very, very warm way? Thank you so very much, Danielle. Like Shalon has said, you came down to our level and spoke to us. Friends, we thank you very much for your patience, for waiting until this time. We usually end by midday. Juliana and Namara, we apologize for running a little over time. We are very grateful that all our online participants are still with us. I am going to invite Rachel to come and appreciate Danielle and Dr. Sarah for us. And then Jab Shots will guide us on how we take our group picture and we get out of here. Rachel, please.
Thank you very much. It's very hard to speak after Penny, but allow me. Allow me to share in her English. I would like to thank or express our gratitude to the persons before us, Danielle and Dr. Sarah. It's been such a wonderful day. We've had the privilege to test our skills in digital communication. We've also been reminded about our purpose in life, to do the hard stuff. We've been struggling with that, Danielle. Why is it hard? But today she has made it. She has made us believe in ourselves, yeah, so that we can go on with the hard stuff, but also not to be onlookers in our lives. She has allowed us or reminded us to pen the stories so that when they write our history, we were there. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank both of you. You can see that everybody would like to stay in the room, but I know that Juliana would like us to leave. So let us balance and allow ourselves to call it a day, but as you have said, they'll be back. They'll be back. So at this point, I would like to take this opportunity to do what we know that PML does. We appreciate the people. So I have a small token for each one of you, and I would like some help here because I'm holding the mic and I'm holding our gifts. So I'll invite Shalon, as always, to help me in this. So, Shalon, can we start with, okay. We'll start with Sarah. Every time Sarah is here, I'm trying to catch up. Digital communication is something that we all have to keep running after. Like she said, there's just new things every time. So we want to thank you so much, Sarah. And please come back. We are still learning. And yes, Danielle, you've allowed us as mothers to take a day off, perhaps to go to the salon while managing the office and every other thing. We are happy with your story and we want to associate with you. So want to, so yes. Okay, we are going to continue believing in ourselves, and Shalon, I think I will ask you to hand that over. We are so grateful to have a public servant who relates with all of us. Thank you very much. Penny, the English.
Danielle said we should know what we bring to the table. Apparently, I bring the English. Friends, this is amazing. Aren't we glad we came today? Shall we appreciate ourselves in a PML manner? Now, friends, next month, June, it's going to be this and even more. So ensure to be present. We have exciting facilitators and guest speakers. Aren't you all glad you are here today? I know for sure that I'm glad that I came today. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Dr. Sarah, for making this worthwhile. Thank you, Shalon, and the entire PML team that makes this possible for all of us. Friends, let's clear our small dues because next month, next meeting, the next session we have here, we shall receive our tools, we shall receive our resources, and we shall be commissioned to go and do our school project. So clear up so that you can be able to receive your resources the next time we meet here in June. Friends, This is the time when we take the picture. Jab shots. Are we staying down or are we standing up? As we are going to, I'm going to ask that we move you. As we organize ourselves, all the ambassadors, after this formal bit, could we have a very short meeting with Shalon in this corner here? All the ambassadors, little meeting. And on that note, could I have some ambassadors up front so that we can be close to the source of power? We need to rub shoulders with the right people. We need to create some space for the cameraman to be able to see all of us in his lens, in the eye of his lens. Shalom is guys, could we push a bit so that we can
This should be the last line. This should be here. So let's push again. One more time. You know, the last person, John is the last person. So you're out of frame. And the other side. Let's say you're also as well. Yeah. You can. Yes.
Cooperative? I'm ready. Okay, for a common smile, when I say 5, you say? So that you hold the smile. 5. 5. 5. 5. Okay, the last one. The last one. Okay. This is a great day, right? So when I say memory, you say memory. Memory? Memory. Memory? Memory. Someone not saying memory.